Joining us now is Rajya Sabha MP from Shiv Sena, Milind Deora from Maharashtra. Thank you, Mr. Deora, for speaking to NDTV. This is perhaps after a long time that you're not fighting the election. How does it feel campaigning for others?
Well, it's a little strange, to be honest. The body clock is telling me that it's time to fight an election because I've been doing that for 20 years. In many ways, I've been doing it all my life. From childhood, I've been experiencing the cycle of elections, but more directly for the last 20 years. And I have not missed an election since 2004. I fought 2004, 2009, 2014, 2019. So in that sense, it's a little strange campaigning for someone else in the Lok Sabha election from South Mumbai. This is also the first time in South Mumbai that a Deora will not be on the ballot for the last 45 years, which has obviously led to a lot of people who have called up and who are finding that a little strange. But you know, that's part of politics, and I'm happy with the outcome because the party I'm in now, the Chief Minister sent me to the Rajya Sabha, and I will obviously be back in Parliament after a decade. And in many ways, although a Rajya Sabha MP has the entire state as a canvas to represent, South Mumbai is certainly my Janma Bhumi, my Karma Bhumi. So there will be a special emphasis for me on South Mumbai, and I'll continue to do to represent the diverse interests of South Mumbai to the best of my ability.
All right, Mr. Deora, there's also been speculation that with the split in the Sena, while the Shiv Sena may have moved to Eknath Shinde, but the Shiv Sainik hasn't moved. So there's a lot of, talks of sympathy for the Thackeray. In fact, his rallies have been getting a great response as well. But the Shiv Sena led by Eknath Shinde also managed to get a good number of seats, which shows the BJP leadership does trust him.
Well, my party has certainly gotten, I wouldn't say a lion's share, we've gotten our fair share of seats. We haven't gotten more than we deserve. We haven't gotten less than we deserved. The alliance certainly kept the larger party, the larger alliance partner, BJP, certainly upheld its promise and delivered on giving its allies the seats that they deserve based on their strength. This debate or this lingering issue of has Shiv Sena moved with Mr. Shinde or have Shiv Sainiks moved? These are things, frankly, which will be settled on the 20th of May in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, and the result will be out by the 4th of June. Firstly, you have to remember that you have to go through Maharashtra's history and remember that a big disruption in Maharashtra's political history happened in 1999 when Sharad Pawar left the Congress party, citing Sonia Gandhiji's foreign origin, and started the NCP just prior to the Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha elections, which happened together. And shortly after, literally after the results, joined hands with the Congress and formed the government in the state. And at that time, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji had won the general elections and was Prime Minister of India. And since then, there have been minor disruptions. You had, for example, Raj Thackeray leaving the Shiv Sena and starting his own party. But really, the big political disruption that happened in Maharashtra after almost 2 decades of Sharad Pawar's move, exactly after 2 decades, was when the then Shiv Sena, led by Uddhav Thackerayji, left the NDA alliance and joined hands with the Congress. That certainly caused a lot of confusion within Congress circles, within Shiv Sena circles. I know that there were many people in the Congress, including myself, who warned against this alliance, who were very worried that based on past experiences of Congress aligning with anti-BJP parties in different states, the ultimate loser of these alliances ends up becoming the Congress party. And we have many examples for that. You have Delhi for that. You have with Aam Aadmi Party, you have West Bengal, you have Uttar Pradesh, you have Tamil Nadu. Some of these are states where the Congress has not revived for 40, 50 years, for half a century. And there were many congressmen who were wary of that alliance, who felt that it was purely done for power. It was purely done just for 10 or 11 ministers in the Maharashtra government, had no real benefit for the cadre, had no benefit for the party. And I continue to believe that, by the way. So that disruption of 2019 has not been tested electorally. And this is the first time it's being tested. There were municipal corporation elections which were supposed to be held in 2022 February. The MVA government decided to postpone them, and then they were postponed by the subsequent government. There were other issues. There was a caste issue, which was reservation, which was pending before the Supreme Court. And now this is the first election where this disruption that was really Mr. Sharad Pawar's game plan will be tested electorally in Maharashtra. So there's no point in me commenting on it. We're just a few weeks away from the final phase of elections in Maharashtra. You will have, post polls, exit polls, and then you'll have finally the result. After which the people of Maharashtra will know where the Shiv Sena, as you mentioned, where do Shiv Senics stand, and where do the voters stand ultimately.
Right. Mr. Deora, also there are concerns about the low voter turnout in Maharashtra across phases. What do you think are the reasons for this? And this is a concern across the country. Do you also think that the PM speaking about Congress manifesto, Rahul Gandhi's promise of economic X-ray or wealth redistribution, or even the controversy around Hemant Karkare are actually finding resonance with voters of the state?
I think voters, my assessment is voters in Mumbai. I was in Kolhapur, in Hatkanangle, in near Kolhapur recently. Voters in rural Maharashtra, certainly urban Maharashtra, tier 2 cities, tier 4 cities, certainly have a good idea about India's standing globally. They are aware of what's happening with regards to our neighbors, how our neighbors are behaving with India. And they have an aspiration for India to succeed, for India to do well. And those aspirations will have to be addressed in the course of an election, both by the government and by the opposition.
Yes.
Voters, I really believe, I've in fact maintained this for a long time, even maybe from 2009, during my second election, that Indian voters had come of age and were moving away from freebies and doles and handouts and were more interested in, yes, freebies, handouts, doles are the easy way for a political party to lure a voter to vote for them. But voters, especially rural, urban poor, are moving towards a more empowering, set of policies that will strengthen their hands. Please keep in mind, this generation is very different from previous generations. This generation has access to smartphones, has access to affordable smartphones, to high-speed data connections, Wi-Fi, is able to access the internet, has the world at their fingertips, knows what influencers who are travel influencers are posting about, what are political people posting about, what's happening in music and culture in India and in California, for instance. And you cannot assume that those people, whether they live in rural areas or in cities, do not aspire for more.
All right, and finally, how important is the Modi factor in these elections in Maharashtra? Also considering that the state is heading for assembly elections later. Also, we're asking this because, many are saying this elections are becoming very localized. There's no wave per se. So a lot of the local issues are being thought of when people are going to vote.
See, people will obviously, in a Lok Sabha election, people are obviously keeping a prime minister and a prime ministerial candidate in mind. People have seen the Prime Minister's track record over the 10 years. There may be areas where people disagree with the Prime Minister. They may not like some of his policies, but I believe that there's more for people to gain from the Prime Minister's policies than otherwise. And so in some ways, it is a referendum on the Prime Minister, on his leadership, on the next 5 years. It is a referendum on the local candidates as well. It is a referendum on local and regional factors. How will it affect us in the next phase of elections, which is 6 to 9 months down the road? You have to also keep in mind that Mr. Shinde, who started out as somebody who essentially left the party and started out to retain the true flavor of the Shiv Sena, his image has also undergone a massive transformation in the last 2 years. He was criticized in the early days, but today he's seen as someone who's accessible, as someone who's extremely hardworking, as someone who has a good vision for the city, for the state, who works hard, who wants to attract investments, as a serious political player, who can attract good talent. So I think that, with the tailwinds of Prime Minister's popularity, where I do believe that the Mahayuti and the NDA will do well in Maharashtra, that will certainly provide tailwinds to the alliance going forward in the assembly elections as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Milind Deora, for joining us on the program here. Thank you.